We are talking with Philip Leung and Alex Narvaez, who are two short filmmakers from Toronto, Ontario, who made the film, the mockumentary film, My Heritage. How's it going, Phil and Alex?
Good, good. How you doing?
Good. So you guys were at the festival, correct?
That's right.
And some of your crew some of the cast and crew members were there as well?
Yeah, we had Maricel Dicion, who played the wife in the film. We had Tony Leung, who played the father. We had Sam Vesti, who is, I guess you could say, like the mic boom operator. He was also in some scenes miking some of the guests.
So I'm assuming the gentleman who played the father is a relative of Phil's?
He is actually my father.
Oh, okay. So like, it was a little bit of a nepotism in terms of casting?
It was. The script was primarily written about my own life, and so the father was pretty much written for my dad. There could be other old Asian men that could play him, but I figured the best person to play the character is the person I'm writing it for.
That makes total sense. Okay, so you guys saw the film, you got the audience's reaction to the film, and then you were part of the feedback portion. What was your first, Alex? What was your first initial responses to the feedback of your film?
I was actually I was pleasantly surprised as to I guess you could say the way that everyone related to the film. I felt like rather sitting in the audience and seeing some of the other feedback that they were giving to some of the other films, it was more kind of like, this is what I liked about the film, this is what I didn't like about the film, this is what worked, this is what didn't work. But when it came time to, I guess, critique My Heritage, it was more about people relating to the experience, rather than necessarily critiquing the film, which I found interesting, just because it speaks to how the immigrant story is so predominant in Canada. And I'm not of Chinese descent, but when Phil brought this story to me, I immediately wanted to be part of it because I also identify with the immigrant story, and I felt that the audience felt the same way as well.
So, Phil, did anything that stood out for you in terms of the feedback? Any kind of golden nugget of an audience member?
There was an audience member who was sitting in front of me. I forgot. It's a lady who just articulated the entire film exactly what I was thinking to the T, to the audience. And because this was our first public screening, we had a private screening before, but this public one is to unknown audience, and to have them respond in a way which really articulated what we were trying to convey was extremely flattering, you know.
Yeah, so it was just it's I guess it's a good feeling of your thematic intention to be executed and for someone to understand it, I guess, right?
Yeah, because I think the perception of films, especially short films, given the title that they're short, is that there's not a lot of work that goes into it. And even though it's we might not have the best production value or the best graphics, the fact that we conveyed exactly what we wanted to the audience was incredible. And the feedback, which was immediate, was great.
So was this your Alex alluded to that this is kind of like your personal, a little bit of personal story for yourself?
Yeah, this kind of was written on a whim, just on I was writing a lot, and this was just one of those pieces that I wrote overnight, and I thought, maybe this isn't hard to shoot, and which is why I approached Alex.
So, Alex, how do you co-direct the film?
Basically, when Phil brought it to me, we went over the story. There was a few changes that we made together that we thought would work best in the interest of how the story would play out and how it would shoot better. And then in terms of how I co-directed it, I think after reading the script that Phil brought to me and getting a sense of the story he was trying to convey, I think that I kind of brought a visual component to it, and I just complimented the story overall. I think with the documentary style that Phil had in mind, I was able to kind of frame it in a specific way, and just communicating with our editor afterwards in terms of color correcting and just the overall look and style that we were going for, I think was my contribution to the great story that Phil had created.
We're kind of opposites.
Okay.
I'm more interested, I guess, in and wow, we're sounding really neurotic here, saying eyes a lot. That personally, I'd be more interested in content and the words, and Alex certainly has a better understanding of style and visual storytelling. And so I thought that because we complement each other that way, it worked out perfectly.
So you guys work together on CBC?
Yeah. In fact,
correct.
we're still at work.
You're still at work right now, and so this is I guess the taxpayer's dime is paying for this phone call.
You're welcome, taxpayers.
So what do you guys do? What do you guys like? What do you guys do? Like, how do you guys work together at the CBC? What's your exact jobs?
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Myself, I'm a visual researcher for George Strombolopoulos Tonight, and Phil is also a visual researcher for George Strombolopoulos Tonight. So that's basically how we've connected in terms of working together. I also produce the Strombo Show, which is on CBC Radio 2.
And Alex shoots a lot of the pieces as well. So some of the stuff you see on TV with tape pieces, such as on-air interviews or the radio shows themselves, Alex would shoot some of that as well.
So you guys are what is exactly? Like you said, you're a visual director. You're visual directors.
Visual researchers.
Researchers. So what exactly is that?
Sorry?
What exactly is a visual researcher?
A visual researcher is somebody who's in charge of gathering visual components to complement interviews or bios or...
Alex is making this sound really complicated.
Yeah.
We're just putting pictures on a screen here.
Yeah, it's pretty much anything that you see on screen that it hasn't been shot by our team are just visual components that have been gathered by...
So I'll give you example would be if he's interviewing Julia Roberts. They're showing and she's promoting a film. They're showing snippets of her film, her past film, or say she talks about Pretty Woman, then all of a sudden a photo of Pretty Woman shows up.
That would be us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
If there's a little more research involved, like her high school photo, or
gotcha.
a Broadway play that she did.
And I guess George or whoever is writing the show kind of knows what questions he's going to ask, and then you guys can have the pictures ready in terms of the question, the context of the question he's going to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so this is a tape. So basically, after the interview, then basically you guys edit the stuff, the pictures after the taping, or
it depends. Some of the stuff is wallpapered in, which is after listening to the interview in post. Some pictures are added in, and some of them are live during the interview, and they're thrown up on the screen live. So it could be either or.
I've actually been in your audience before.
Oh, that's great. What did you think about the audience experience?
It was good because I went to a polarizing interview because I went to because I'm a big political junkie, so I went to Bolton, who used to be the old UN ambassador for the United States. He was one of Bush's boys.
Bolton?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was trying to be like non-political
here. I don't know
here.
why I was so dismissive of him. No, it's great, but
No. This is I would say the same thing, but basically I was just curious how because I don't really like the man.
Right.
So basically I was just curious, being close to him and seeing how he was in an interview. So that's why I was in the audience.
Actually, in fact, to tie it all together, I think part of why we directed this was because we've been visual researchers for, by that point, 2 years, and we were seeing a lot of things. Even though we were both getting a lot of content on air, I was writing a lot of jokes for the show, and Alex was shooting a lot for the show. It wasn't our full-time title. That was kind of how we made our,
Gotcha.
Way into the show. So it's kind of two hungry guys that are watching everybody else at work at their top of their game, and both of us were like, "Hey, we could also do this.
Yeah,
we could shoot something. We can do this as well."
Yeah. Also, for a little bit of backstory, myself and Phil actually started off as PAs on the George Strombolopoulos Tonight Show. So it's been a slow evolution to go from a PA to then a visual researcher, and then the desire of wanting to create doesn't go away. So you kind of have to have an outlet if you're not able to create necessarily on a regular day-to-day basis. So myself and Phil just decided, let's just start let's just start making some movies, man, and that's how we ended up here.
Did George see your short film yet?
Yeah, George, I believe George has seen it. I know that the Strombo team has put it up on Strombo.com in support of the film, which was a fantastic avenue for some eyeballs to kind of know that we were in the process of creating the film. So a big shout out to George and the whole Strombo team for having our back on that one. We really appreciate that.
So Team Strombo, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, just to go back, take a step backwards to go back to the film screening. I think I alluded to it during the moderation in a joking manner, but when I was sitting in the front row during the screening, and someone in the second row during your film whispered to her friend or whoever, said, "I hope these guys better be Chinese." Because it's like the allude to basically, like I said, it's like you only can make fun of your race or your culture if you, like, say I'm Italian, I only can make fun of Italians. If you can't make fun of Italians, only I can, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of ascribe to that.
I think I know myself, I'm not of Chinese descent, so I definitely wouldn't be making a film like this on my own.
Yeah.
But, I mean, because it was Phil's story, I felt comfortable. I'm like, I have somebody who's lived through this, I have somebody who's telling their own story, so I had no problem jumping on board and helping to deliver the story in the best way possible. So I felt comfortable with it.
But it's about the stereotype, right? Because obviously stereotypes are somewhat true, but you guys took it to another level for comedic effect.
Yeah, I think everything has to be, to a certain extent, to get, maybe because we're new filmmakers and we probably don't have the confidence to deal with subtleties yet, but I just wanted 100% certain that there's going to be laughs.
Yeah.
That I don't want any mistakes or any ambiguity to be had for audience saying, should I laugh at this? Should I not? Like, let's just make it as bright and as loud as possible for the audience to. And I think we have enough characters on both sides of the story to say that this isn't entirely racist. That we have a Chinese-speaking white guy. We have an English-speaking Asian woman who he's married to.
Right.
We just have enough people, I think, on both sides to speak on both sides of the coin, as opposed to just be a one-sided story.
But was your dad like that, like the term hardcore about your education and about being a high achiever?
Yes, absolutely. That was the majority of my childhood, and when I shared this with friends, especially in the Chinese community, those in Richmond Hill or Markham or those in Toronto, every one of them would say the same thing, that they had, there's this, and I mean, let's look to where the term Tiger Mom came from. It's the drive of immigrants of wanting their children to do better. But I think as a result of that, a lot of kids, especially the firstborn, push back to their parents and be like, listen, I've had enough of this.
I have to say, being on set with Phil and his father, Tony, experiencing the dynamic and seeing the way that they work, I found it really interesting because they're a family unit, so seeing myself at times direct Tony, or even seeing Phil at times direct his father, it didn't seem that way. It didn't seem like Tony was that tiger dad that was that pushy type of father. But then again, that it just kind of shows that a father is a certain way with his family and doesn't necessarily show that to the rest of the world. So I also found that as a part of an interesting dynamic working with Phil and his father.
Have you ever asked your dad like what his motivation was to be so disciplined, I guess, about overly disciplined about you? Like what's the motivation for them?
I never asked him, but I have this little theory in my head, which is the Joneses, where every, I can't say every, I mean that would be overstating.
Yeah.
Every majority of Asian kids or Chinese kids that I know takes piano lessons. It's just parents talking to other parents and be like, yo, I got kids that are way better than your kids. And
so you're saying it's the ego of the parents about like...
Definitely. I mean, this is my crazy theory. I could be wrong, but it's just comparing kids with each other. I just hear them talking. I mean, growing up, I just hear one parent telling the other, oh, my kid's in this lesson and this part of the class, and I lived in Hong Kong for a while, and my relatives talk exactly like that, where even from really young, they already want their kids to be showing off their piano skills to their friends, or it's ridiculous. I just feel like none of these skill sets are developed organically. They're kind of just forcefully taught.
Was there something that you loved, that you like, or like? I'm sure there's certain things that you did that you despise, and there's certain things that you did that you loved, right? Like what he was forcing you to do.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. I'm so grateful for them. I mean, it allows me to live above the tax bracket now, but not really, actually.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna say you work for CBC. It's like
exactly.
Yeah.
Alex just gave me this look like.
Look like, what are you talking?
No, yeah.
No, but I'm certainly grateful for it. But I always feel like there's other means to go about it, and I mean, I feel like I hope the message isn't about the pushiness of it, but more about not so much about the pushiness of raising children, but more so about how the culture that you have,
The cultural identity.
yeah, that you were born into is what you can't get rid of, and you have to embrace that.
So before we leave you guys, what's next? Are you guys going to be co-directing another movie together, or are you guys going to be going your separate ways? What's next for the two of you?
Well, we have two projects on the go. We're trying to shoot a 1-minute film that is the most densely loaded 1-minute film that we're going to try to produce and direct.
It's a good challenge. We wanted to see if we could tell a somewhat complex story visually. I mean, complex visually story, and kind of cram it into 1 minute and see, just see what the outcome is. So we're doing that, and then we also have a second project on the go, which I don't know how much Phil wants to talk about it. How much?
Sure, I mean, you can talk about it if you want.
I'll let you talk about it. Go ahead, Phil.
Okay, well, it's a hip hop love story, and Alex, if you listen to the radio show or if you watch some of his work, and also he had a radio show in Ryerson that it was all primarily revolved around hip hop, and so we wanted a film that kind of talks to the state of Canadian hip hop, which is not all glitz and glamour as we know.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds interesting. You guys made a good film, and you did job number one. You entertained 100 people sitting in an audience.
Yeah, for sure.
And everybody seemed to.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was a great experience being able to sit in the audience, and it was even better them not knowing that we were actually in the audience, so we can get some authentic feedback. So I think that was in itself was a great experience and a learning experience as well.
Yeah, and I hope to showcase one of your guys' films down in the future. And don't be a stranger. We're back in March every month, so hope to see you guys again.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, great. Thank you.